The Conjured chest. Can a furniture item really be responsible for 18 deaths? Perhaps if it's cursed. The story of the Conjured chest is a sad tale from beginning to end. In the 1800s, a man named Jeremiah Graham and his wife were expecting their first child. Jeremiah had an enslaved man by the name of Remus to hand carve a chest to put in his child's room. Upon completion, Remus showed Jeremiah his handiwork. Jeremiah was not pleased with the work and beat Remus. Remus soon thereafter died from his injuries. To avenge his death, the other enslaved men sprinkled dry blood inside the drawers of the chest and cursed it. From that moment on, and unbeknownst to the Graham family, tragedy was bestowed upon any person who dared to put their clothes in the chest. Jeremiah ended up placing the chest in his child's room. While preparing for the child, Jeremiah and his wife placed the newborn's clothing items in the chest. The child unfortunately died in infancy. Sometime later, Jeremiah's twin brother, Jonathan, had a son. Jonathan's son's clothes were placed in the chest. On his 21st birthday, Jonathan's son was stabbed by his body servant. The chest was then placed in the attic by Jeremiah and Amanda Winchell Graham. Sometime later, Catherine Winchell, a relative of Amanda Winchell Graham, and John Ryan, a recent immigrant from Ireland, eloped. Amanda Winchell Graham arranged for them to live on the land belonging to the Grahams. As a gift, she gave them the chest from the attic. They both placed their clothing in the chest. It is said that farm life then left them poor, and unfortunately, Catherine became very ill. John decided he needed to go to New Orleans to find work. However, he was killed in an accident before being able to do so. Soon thereafter, Catherine Winchell Ryan passed away. Next, the chest was used by a child named Louise Gregory, who was one of the children of Eliza Ryan and John David Gregory. Louise died at the age of 10 years old. Eliza and John David Gregory's son, Ernest Gregory, grew up and married a woman named Stella. Stella used the chest to put her wedding clothes in. The couple were wed in 1895. Stella died within 2 years of their wedding. A relative to the Gregory family, Mabel Whitehead, came to live with Eliza and John David in 1884. Mabel married a man named Wilbur Harlan in 1897. In 1901, Mabel and Wilbur had a child whom they named Chester. To prepare for their new arrival, Mabel and Wilbur placed Chester's clothing in the chest. Chester died at the age of 2 weeks old. Wilbur decided to use the chest for his clothing, and he died in 1905. John David Gregory's nephew Emmett was the son of John David's sister Lucy B. Gregory. Emmett worked for the railroad. For Christmas, Lucy knitted gloves and a scarf for Emmett. She hid them in the chest for safekeeping. In December of 1909, Emmett got off the train and fell 30 feet through a trestle. Nellie Gregory, daughter of Eliza and John David, married a man named Fred in August of 1905. In preparation for the wedding, Eliza placed her wedding clothes in the chest. Fred deserted Nellie, and the wedding never took place. John David passed away in 1908. In an attempt to rearrange and reorganize her life, Eliza moved the chest into her room. Soon thereafter, Eliza took her own life on April 4th, 1915. The chest then moved to Louisville with Eliza and John David's granddaughter, Virginia Carey Hudson Cleveland, and her husband, Curtly Cleveland. The couple was excited for the arrival of their firstborn and decided to put the chest in the nursery. The child's clothes were placed in the chest. The baby was born prematurely on August 8, 1915, and died the same day. Virginia and Curtly Cleveland eventually had 2 daughters and a son. The oldest daughter was Virginia Hudson Cleveland, and their youngest was Anne Carey Cleveland. Virginia and Curtly used the chest for Anne's clothing. Around 1929, Anne was struck with polio. Although she ultimately recovered, she endured related symptoms her entire life. Virginia Hudson, the eldest child of Virginia and Kirtley, was set to be married to Wilbur Brister. Virginia Hudson's wedding dress was placed in the chest. The two wed in 1943. In December of 1944, Wilbur was rushed to the hospital for an appendectomy and died December 9, 1944, from an overdose of ether. Virginia and Kirtley was kind enough to lend their neighbor a place to put their hunting gear. And you guessed it, the Conjured chest. Sonny placed his hunting gear in the chest. Sonny was killed in a gun accident at a neighbor's home on April 5, 1946. Richard, Virginia and Kirtley's son, put his clothes into the chest. Less than a week later, he was stabbed through the hand at school. Finally realizing the connection between the chest and the family's misfortune, Virginia reached out to her maid, Sally, and asked how to break the conjure. Sally told Virginia she needed a dead owl brought unasked by a friend. Then she had to take the leaves of a willow tree planted by a friend and boil them for 1 day in sight of the owl. Next, she was to put the liquid in a jug and bury it with the handle facing east under a flowering bush. If it worked, either Virginia or Sally would die before all the leaves fell off the bush in the fall. Sally died the following September. To this day, some of the owl feathers remain in the top drawer to keep the curse at bay. The chest was later donated to Kentucky Historical Society, where it is still on display to this day for those who dare to see. Is the curse of the Conjured chest real? Could the revenge of Remus be the reason for the bad misfortune? Or could it be just a really long string of bad luck? Could the land the family lived on be contaminated or somehow be the cause of the ailments leading to death? Perhaps we will never know. We would love to hear your thoughts, so comment below. Ring the notification bell if you enjoyed this video and would like to learn about more cursed objects. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and become part of our fearless community.